Hi, it's Joanne saying you're watching Midnight Mass, Season 1, Episode 2, Psalm, but 2 Psalms. Sorry, I think it's a Bible book. I don't know anything about the Bible. I mean, I do, a bit. I am so intrigued to jump back into this show and into the mystery. I loved the first episode. Thank you so much, Albert, for sponsoring. A reminder that if you're watching this on YouTube, you can find the unedited version up on my Patreon 1 week in advance. So I've just finished the episode. This is a quick future me jumping back to just do a teeny warning, which is that if you have very strong religious beliefs and you're going to read into my reaction, just be aware that I am an atheist. My views align very strongly with the ones Riley expresses in this episode, potentially a little further even than he takes it. But so that is an expression that when people are talking about things, that is my opinion on the matter, that's what I will be saying. But please also know that I really never intend to offend anybody, and I will fight alongside you for your right to have your religious beliefs. Just let me have my atheist ones. But just a warning that if hearing somebody sort of saying things like Riley says in this episode is something that upsets you or you don't like, then feel free to close this reaction and move on to something else. Okay. Oof. Almost forgot my emotional support, Baby Yoda. I didn't need it too much last time, so hopefully I'll be okay. But he can just be ready. I don't want to tempt fate by not having him here.
The uppers haven't flooded in 20 years or more, but that storm, wowzers, maybe.
A rational explanation is, does he know more than he's letting on, and he's coming up with the stuff that makes sense?
Ospreys maybe?
God, he's so... I can't tell whether the mayor is so determined to come up with a rational explanation or whether he's just genuinely... In the real world, you would try and come up with a rational explanation, wouldn't you?
Seems a little drastic. You know, we've had strange things happen before.
Oh God, what else has happened here?
Really? And they'll thank you for it, right? You know, we really would love to see you two in mass one of these days.
They're not Christian.
No, you've got your faith, and well, God bless.
Are you gonna come with him? Do some prayers or go to the mosque?
You know, I remember 2002. It was a whole.
He's... Oh, is he trying to cover it up, or does he just like the sound of his own voice?
How you doing, Riley? How's it treating you being back?
How do people here view at him?
Pregnant people. Pregnant women.
Tend to be women.
Tax owes something. Sorry about last night. I just want to apologize.
What for? You were honest.
Like that.
She asked.
That's fine. Heard somewhere.
I mean, like, she said, how are you? You said, oh, fine, I'm managing, or whatever. And then she said, how are you? She was asking you to unload, sweetheart. And he does look like he's got like little horns, but a seagull is a squeagle. He seems so sweet. And it's just such an interesting concept, isn't it, with, like, drink driving or whatever, because objectively he does seem like a good man, a kind man. Like, if you just met him or were talking to him, there are no obvious red flags or anything like that. But he got drunk and he killed a girl. Like, I struggle with that personally, because how much do you... I mean, I'm sorry, I'm just going to, like, repeat myself a lot, but how far do you let something define somebody? Because obviously, like, that girl is never going to get to grow up. She's never going to get to make mistakes and then repent them and redeem herself and, like, come good, because she's just dead. And yet he now gets a second chance to live. Now, obviously, I do think he deserves one. I don't, because it wasn't an intentional crime. It's just such an interesting dilemma that you don't really think of, do you, that much? You kind of just think, oh, drunk drivers, lock him away, throw away the key. But it truly was an accident, but then that girl is dead. And I feel like I'm just battling the whole time. And when I forget what he did, I really like his character so far. And then, like, I remember that he got drunk and drove a car and hit a girl, and less fond. So it's just, it's a lot. Am I overthinking this? I don't think I am. I'm just struggling because no one should be held to account for honest mistakes for forever, but everybody knows you do not get drunk and then drive a car. So, no. Has he got Monsieur Pruitt prisoner somehow? I don't know how did he escape? Why he would have then run away if he was there? And then he told him the wrong... Oh, an AA meeting. That is good. Was he addicted? Because again, like, if addiction is involved, then that does make you look at it a little bit differently. I still hold him to account for his actions, and, like, he was held to account for his actions. But it's not just, you know, an idiot young person just going out on a bender and then going driving. Like, if he has a problem, then it becomes that little bit more complex as well. Or is this just court mandated because it was a drink driving accident? Doesn't absolve him either way. He is struggling a lot. And I think he feels really alone in his life. Like, he has moments of connection, but he still feels that burden of guilt, which, that makes me like him a little bit, because he's still feeling the guilt. He's not like, oh, it was an accident. I paid my price.
Well, that's the thing about where we've been. It's important, sure, but it's not as important as where we're going. And
He
every person
didn't
asked before
answer
where I
you.
am now, well, they were just,
She's scared of the dog?
morning.
Or does she just
Lisa?
not like him? Lisa?
Oh, I'm fine. It's fine.
It's not fine. I'm intrigued and concerned. But also, please notice that he did not answer you.
Picky Queen, you are gonna bury us in bottles if you keep it up. And here you threw it away.
Yep, total opposite to her mother.
Just a guess. You know, it is funny, because at home, she never met a bottle she couldn't empty.
It's true.
Here you go.
I feel like her whole life people in this town acted like her mother was a saint because she went to church every Sunday.
What's that for?
And because,
Rats.
you know, she was the teacher.
Had
Ooh.
a big problem after this.
God. No. She thinks you're Monsignor Pruitt. Sorry, she's confused.
See, this seems like a really good thing that a very religious man, priest, would do for his congregation. I still don't trust it.
The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ.
She called him John. Does he know her? I wouldn't feel comfortable leaving a strange man alone with my elderly, ailing mother. Well, his grandmother's the only experience I've had in my case, but that does seem good. That does seem like how you'd want a priest to be, going out of his way to help those members of his congregation. And especially given that Mass is meant to be like super important for your soul and things. It's not just like a thing you do for good shit and giggles. But I don't trust the man.
I remember 15-year-old Riley sneaking out of my bedroom window, trying to make curfew. Don't want to upset the parents.
Good night, Aaron.
I feel like he definitely,
Too.
you know, even though normally at his age he wouldn't be thinking about keeping his parents waiting or whatever, he could send them a text if they have phones. But also, like, he's caused his parents so much worry, he doesn't want to cause them even a second more. Or doesn't feel that he can cause them a second more. Is her eyesight going? Does she need better glasses? Does she not need her glasses? He's still stuck in the same routine. See, the fact that he's so tormented and trapped by his guilt does make me feel more favourably towards him. Because he's not someone that is trying to just brush it off as, oh, it wasn't my fault, I was drunk, I didn't realise what I was doing or anything. Like, he feels the guilt of what happened and the weight of it every day, which does make me more disposed to liking him. And to thinking that maybe he is worthy of forgiveness and trying to build a life. But it is just so awful because she's never getting it. And I honestly think, oh, so he doesn't think he deserves a day. Like, honestly, I think they almost cheapen those moments when they show her now, because, like, the first time we saw her, disfigured and from the accident and everything, it was freaky. It made me jump. Now I just expect it. But just seeing the red and blue flashing lights on his face, you know what he's seeing. And I find that really powerful. And then it does the jump scare. And I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, it's tragic and awful, do not get me wrong. I don't particularly want to think too much about what I'm seeing, so my brain kind of just disengages, because if I think too much about that young girl whose life has been stolen from her, I would probably start crying. But I just... He's an interesting character, and it's another interesting thing to explore, how this is, I guess, is this, you know, he feels as though he's here. Oof. And he doesn't feel worthy of any of the good things in his life that he has, or anything. And it's so hard because you could so understand an argument that maybe he isn't worthy of those things. Why are we seeing nighttime? Nighttime is not my friend in these Mike Flanagan shows. Is his name, isn't it? Is it like a winged gargoyle thing? Or an angel? An evil angel? What is happening?
There's also always an uptick around the start of Lent. Why is that? What's so special about today?
Why this
Half-Life
man
Day.
shames
Beginning of
people?
life. It's hardly a crowd pleaser. The beginning of repentance, making amends for our sins.
Shame.
Sin. Jesus' first disciples, they were fishermen. One of his first miracles.
Yes,
Right?
we are
Yes,
the
sir.
best.
Deep fishermen desperate.
Sorry.
Jesus says, put out. Restore us.
But he's
We sing
brainwashing
to
this
the
little
sky.
congregation, nice and nice.
My friends, he.
Honey, it's not a sacrament. It's a blessing. Please.
Edward, remember yours.
You don't get to force your religion on anyone. I get that his mum thinks it's what's best for him.
Remember you were dust.
I could not live in a religious community. Though it makes me feel a little bit more at ease about this place, that there are like at least 3 times the number of people, although these could just be people out of town to see it. But there seem to be a lot more non-religious people than the congregants, and that makes me feel slightly more confident that I wouldn't die on this island.
Same old Monsignor here since before I was born. And he would stare at me just like that all the time. Even back when I was a kid.
Is he Monsignor reborn back to being young or something weird?
Yes, exactly.
And that's why, so he was wandering in the storm and he didn't want to be seen as the young man? I don't even know anymore.
Resurrection.
Did Monsignor Pruitt die and then this is his youthful person come back and that's why the old lady saw him and was like, John! Because it's him when he was younger and no one else is alive that would know him. I am going to wildly speculate.
Everything has its season.
Well,
This priest is going to kill everyone.
appreciate your time, Father, but I bet there's a lot of other people around here who like your company.
Fuck off, in other words.
Responsible for the drunken hunting accident that paralyzed little Lisa.
Oh, of course. That. I wondered if it could be something like that.
And he still won't put down the bottle. But someone like you,
No wonder she
Riley,
freaked
someone
out. And
who
yeah,
already has, could set quite the example.
so that guy gets to just sit there drinking, living his life. No, he's paralysed the girl. Now, obviously, being paralysed is in no way comparable to killing a girl. She can live a very full and happy life, but, you know, he did that to somebody else. I wonder what repercussions there were, because it was just an accident. It's funny, because if she died, he would have also gone to prison. It's all very interesting, the different paths we weave, and I'm glad Riley did his prison sentence, and he's genuinely repentant. It's just, oh, it's just so interesting. Is the dog gonna be the next to die? Because it was cats first. Poison hot dog? I don't know.
That's it. And then at the end of the day, she would have a handful of these blue tickets that she would dutifully spend.
Because everybody knew she had a problem and they just left her and judged her for acting out in response.
Her memory.
Leave.
Ain't nothing like her.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that much. You're gonna be
Fine.
great.
Hmm.
Teacher,
You have so much love and independence. And to be honest, if she does stay here for long term, I mean, I feel like she would suffocate, but she would be so good for the kids because she's not just another stuffy adult that is an authority figure in their life that is like, be religious, do nothing wrong, I don't know, like she has other ideas. She knows what it's like to feel like you're suffocating in this place or just want to get out and see other things. Also, she would never treat her child the way she was treated. The dog's dead. Poison hot dog.
who did this? Which one are you?
Oof. Dog murder time, is it? Do we see who gives her? I'm at 35 minutes. Do we see who puts the hot dog down? Was that a thing? Is it before their conversation? No. I don't know. If we do, I will catch it when editing and put in a little message probably. I mean, she's the most likely suspect.
Horrible accident.
An accident?
Yeah. Have you ever been party to an accident before?
I'll go see if I find something.
That steps.
Here we are again.
His dad
Back to normal.
letting him in.
Dad, you're back. No, it's okay. I'm good.
They're getting healed from their injuries or illnesses or whatever, right? Like, the mum can see his back isn't bad anymore. Is this guy bringing genuine resurrection to the island? At the expense of the cats? The cats died and now the villagers all get healed? Oh, the rat poison, of course!
Straight home.
She was hanging around with rat poison and now the dog's dead.
You have a good day, Bev.
You do the same, Sheriff.
God, these two despise each other. Him because she's like a prejudiced bitch. And her because she's a prejudiced bitch.
You know what, Sheriff? I didn't expect this would go any different. Not with me, not here.
Thing is, there isn't proof, is there? That's the
Half
thing.
the island with that fucking settlement. What's one more dog on
Ooh.
the pile?
Look, I hear you, Joe.
Yeah, I've known that
She was
already
behind the settlement.
since
What?
grade school. About. So let's just leave it there.
I know Bev Keane too, right? Not as well as you, but enough to know you're not wrong about her.
Mm-hmm.
You're not wrong, Joe.
Thank you.
That does actually mean the world to him. But there isn't proof, and that is the most dangerous part. It's just the two of them. That is so weird. You just stamp my sheet and let me go?
I gotta say,
Is he partly doing this for...
how awkward this would be.
I can't remember her name.
I really don't know how to start.
Doing it for... Oh,
Began with
is her name Quinn?
Serenity.
I want to call her Theo. It's not her name in the show. So that any other kids on the island might be able to get help for their parents.
Serenity to-
Who knows if it actually cost as much as people gave her? So many of them gone now. There's really no way to know for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Catholic Church in a nutshell.
Yep.
All over the world. These small, starving villages with big, fancy churches.
100%. Think about how many
Fancy,
ornate
a lot of towers
churches there
high,
are.
Churches just popping up.
Safely say you're not practicing.
That's safe.
Not always the case, though. You were an altar boy.
So yeah, he grew up with religious parents. Of course he was.
Monsignor Pruitt said that God can take that pain and turn it into something good, something with purpose.
Well, God,
Suffering can be a gift.
free will or not, God could have ensured that her car swerved and avoided his car that night. God could have ensured that he dropped his keys down a drain pipe and couldn't get into the car. There are so many things God could do that his free will would still have been there in so many ways, but that gust of wind came at any other time, and maybe that would be out free will, but you know, causing the car to just swerve a little bit, or, you know, oh dear, the lights changed at that intersection, now they've missed each other. If God was loving, he wouldn't be like, well yes, I do believe Riley there needed to learn a lesson, and yes, that girl did need to die to teach it.
Well, it just depends.
Sorry, this show's triggering me.
How we react to it. So, alcohol.
I'm so fascinated by it, but it's triggering me.
Same with.
So who's to blame there? I am to blame there.
You are.
God. Well, he just kind of let it happen, didn't he? See, that's the part I cannot square. Because you're right, there's so much suffering in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So much. And then there's this higher power who could erase all that pain.
My opinion, God is either non-existent, most likely,
Doesn't?
all loving but completely impotent,
No.
or completely all-powerful and a sadistic bastard. I do not understand any other way.
That it lets all the rest of us off the hook. The only fucking thing that lets people stand by watching all this suffering doing nothing, nothing, is the idea that suffering can be a gift from God.
I agree with everything he's saying right now. And I'm ready to get furious with whatever answer gets given.
I believe God can take our work, even our awful works, and turn them into something else.
That girl is dead. Riley's awful work took a child's life. God is gonna be like, oh, she's an angel. He missed most of the point there. And like, if anybody has blood on their hands, it's freaking God because of all the things he could have stopped and didn't.
I know he can find the good in them, find the love in them, whether we see it or not.
It doesn't matter. Yes, you know, those are really freaky points. God, like all people have, like most people have good in them. Riley has a lot of good in him, and he is battling with what he did, but God has nothing to do with it. You know, I try to be a good person. I try to do the right thing. I try to look out for other people and to help where I can. And, you know, I have no idea whether I'm a good person or not. I try to be. I hope I am. I'd like to think I'm at least, you know, tip in that way. But I don't do that because I think God is watching me and I'm going to get to go to heaven afterwards. I'm fully aware that when my time is up, I will no longer exist and it will just be nothing and I will know nothing. And yes, that is a freaky thought, and I wish I could believe that the loved ones I've lost were up there watching me and I could go see them one day. So many people do things that so many Christians do things that are not Christian in the slightest. But in general, the concept of having a loving God, it makes no sense. No, in general principle, the concept of heaven, and if you do bad things, you go to hell. If you do good things, you go to heaven. That makes every single time a Christian person does something good, they are doing it for selfish reasons, even if they are just doing it to be good. They are doing it because in the back of their minds, and this gives me a tick. It's such a funny conundrum. I think a person who is an atheist but does their best to be good, or does a lot better than me, does a lot of good, is a far better person in that way than a Christian person who does a lot of good and would be far more deserving of heaven. Though I've had people tell me that because I wasn't christened when I was a baby, I'm going to hell. So, maybe I should just say fuck it, right, and hurt everyone, except no, I'd like to do good in the world, thanks. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, I'm going to have to put a warning at the start of this episode. Just saying that, I'm loving this show. But yeah, my religious opinions are being triggered. But I would fight for the right for this man to get to believe these things. He's just wrong.
That I know.
I have no idea what to expect in this show, what level of freaked out I need to be. Oh my god, no, the eyes are there, the eyes are there, the eyes are there. Oh fucking hell. Why don't you go move in with Riley's family? They seem nice and Christian, and it's a good Christian thing to take in a woman alone who doesn't feel safe, right? Oh no.
I'm so sorry.
You did the right thing. That's why I'm here. You did the right thing. Here, listen.
Please say everything's okay. I'm scared that whatever's going on here is going to make her have a demon baby.
Sarah!
Holy shit.
Sarah!
Jesus, Mom!
Holy shit.
Come quick, come!
Jesus.
I thought I saw your father. That face. Oh, that face.
See, she's not going to be believed because she's got dementia. Riley won't be believed because it was storming, he couldn't see clearly, and oh god. I don't know much about this guy other than the fact that he deals drugs and helps the old drunk, but oh no, that's the creepy house it crashed into. Why would you check it out? Oh yes, I live on a creepy island in the middle of godforsaken nowhere, and it's night time, and a door just creepily creaked open. I think I'm going to go investigate it, said nobody ever.
Somebody there?
Did the weird preacher man bring this thing in the chest? Did he bring a little creature to the island? And now some people are getting healed and some people are getting eaten. I'm stressed. Okay, just leave, for fuck's sake, just leave. It's not worth it. I don't want to know what it is. You don't want to know what it is. Baby Yoda doesn't want to know what it is. No one wants to know what it is. What the fuck? Is it an angel? Or a devil? So just in covering my bases, God is great, God is good, I believe. I'm so weirded out by him. Is it some sort of thing where those people who are good people get healed and the bad get eaten? But you mocking me? I guess he wants her to stand. But you'd be like, what are you... Yeah.
Lisa, honey, what is wrong with you?
If this is a joke, Father, it's not funny. Lisa.
How would you explain this? Oh, this town is going to go crazy with zealous people. I was waiting for her to be able to walk all the injured.
Body of Christ.
Amen.
So the creepy religious people on this island, the uber religious people on this island are going to go crazy right now. A miracle has been wrought on our island. I imagine that they'll be writing to all the religious people they know. Miracle. How on earth is he going to explain this? What is the rational explanation of this? My crackpot theory right now is that maybe the priest brought some kind of a angel creature thing, or a thing that kind of resembles an angel to, or a demon, a winged gargoyle creature to this island, and he is helping people, but in order to do that they have to like take life elsewhere. So like the cats all got killed, and now Riley's dad's back is fine and his mum can read, but this is a big thing, you know, healing a spinal injury like that isn't just minor, so it had to kill somebody, and then that life force has gone into her to make her walk. Again, I don't know, I don't have much to go on here, but I like theorising, it's fun. And that he knew, maybe he controls it or he targets it. I was wondering whether he could be Monsieur Pruitt, like, de-aged somehow, because, like, Monsieur Pruitt, he knows all these things and he apparently talks to him all the time, and I fully don't believe that unless he had him in his locker and he thinks that God is speaking to him, but it's just a creepy gargoyle monster. He may not know about the gargoyle monster, we will see. And it was the fact that the old lady with dementia saw him and was like, John, like, I know you, rather than being like, oh, strange man, stranger, get away. Now, that can happen. I know my nan, when she had dementia, and we had no choice but to put her in a care facility, she at times was convinced that one of the men there was my dead granddad, and no one had the heart to say, yeah, no, that poor man got her, you know, nattering away to him about their lives, but, you know, she was convinced that that was my granddad, despite obviously him not being it. So it could be as simple as that. She's got dementia, but no. Then you have the interesting factor of she initially thought she saw someone wearing her ex-husband, her dead husband's clothes out the window, and then it came closer, and that face. So does the creature look like the person you're most afraid of or something? Why would Riley be afraid of Monsieur Pruitt? Is it the kind of stereotypical but sadly beyond accurate priests and altar boys stereotype that your brain immediately goes to, because the Catholic Church is full of that kind of thing, and you could so see them being like, that guy's a paedophile, let's send him to an island in the middle of nowhere, no one will care, cover that up, because that is what the Catholic Church has done for centuries. You know, it could be something like that. That could even have been the trigger for the drinking and the anti-religion now. Again, I am reaching here, but if it is something like that, that could explain why Riley thought he saw him out there. I don't know, otherwise I'm just trying to come up with explanations. So yeah, the mystery side of it is very interesting. Now the poisoned dog I don't think has much to do with the rest of what's going on. I think that is more of the human nature side of things. And why was the creature watching... Oh, is her name Quinn? I can't remember her name. I'm so sorry. Why was it like looking up at her and it followed her to the doctor's house? What does it want? I'm stressed. Yeah, I'm just stressed in general. I'm very worried about her and the baby, because I think if the doctor thought anything was wrong, she would be telling her, go see a specialist, go do something. She wouldn't just be like, oh, it's fine. But in the last episode, I didn't feel entirely convinced by her. You know, the fact that she was like, did you have any spotting? I think she is concerned that something's going on. But maybe it's something that there is simply no treatment for, so she thinks, well, if I tell her, it's just going to stress her out. I don't know. So I am really worried about the spotting. I'm worried in general. That is just, it's very stressful. Then in this episode there was a lot of a discussion of Christianity and religion and God and what it means, and I am definitely going to film after, at the end of this, a quick like warning, because I don't know, I presume ultra religious people will not watch this show because they tend to be like anti anything that deals with Christianity, not in a entirely favourable light all the time, and yeah, I don't know. But I think what I was really appreciative of is that they gave Riley's character time. You know, he spoke the truth of his feelings. He spoke and he gave a valid set of points, a lot of, but not all of, my reasons for being an atheist were what he said in that speech, and I felt really seen by that. You know, as you will have seen, my like atheism was being triggered by a lot of the sort of stuff that doesn't, like the stuff that, in my opinion, religious people say that doesn't make sense, it doesn't hold true, it's patronising, it swerves around the point. And again, even when Mr. Priestman replied to Riley, he ignored most of what he said and he focused on some of the more minor points of the argument to be like, oh God does this. You know, he ignored significant chunks of it and was just like, okay, but I'm just going to focus on this one thing and I'm going to talk to you about that because I can't answer this one because there isn't an answer for it. You're right. It's exactly the same way that when, oh, I've forgotten her name. The girl who was in a wheelchair and is now healed, when she asked him where he came from, he gave her a very waffly answer that never even remotely answered her question. You know, she's interested. She's never been off this island. If you've lived in New York or lived in Ohio or lived in Nevada, she'll be interested in hearing about a different place. And you are a religious man, so you're probably a safe person, but you're not going to tell her about strip clubs or anything ungodly, you know. And yet he just didn't even answer a little bit and he evaded it. And he evaded it in a very, like, I'm a mysterious man of God kind of way. But he did just entirely evade her question, and that's exactly the way he approached Riley's question. See, as an atheist watching a show called Midnight Mass, in which the majority of the characters are heavily religious, I did appreciate that. I assume Mike Flanagan is an atheist? Or at least agnostic, just based on the family's attitudes in Hill House. I found that quite surprising at the time, because when you watch American TV shows, even shows that have literally nothing to do with religion, so many times characters will randomly be like, I believe in God. And you'll be like, what did that have to do with anything? Wouldn't it have been fine to just not specify their religion either way, so that like people of both sides could assume? You know, because America is very much like the golden country. Yeah, but so I appreciated that we heard Riley's side, and I appreciated that the priest's response was as weak as I thought it would be. But also that he didn't try any of the like, you know, there is no way to respond to what Riley said because there is no response. And like I said, please, I doubt if anyone has been offended by me that's still watching. I truly don't mean offence, and I truly do mean it that I would fight. I mean, I'm a very useless fighter, and I have chronic fatigue syndrome, so I doubt I'd be any good in the fight, but you know, I will sign petitions or email people. I will fight as best I can for everybody's right to practice their religion, whether that is Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, Sikhism, every single Judaism. I'm missing many religions. You deserve the right to believe those things, but also I don't believe them personally, and I cannot understand anybody believing them. I mean, a godly figure. And yeah, I will fight for you to have those beliefs, and to the most part, I would never, you know, in the same way that kind of Riley was like, well, I don't really know you, I don't want to offend you. You know, I'm not gonna, in an ordinary situation, walk up to you as you come out of church and be like, why do you believe me? You do your life, and as long as you don't try and force me to be religious, I'm not gonna force you to be an atheist. But I also believe that in the same way that religious people are allowed to talk about why they're religious and just casually talk about being religious, I can casually talk about being an atheist. You know, it goes both ways. So I like how this show is covering it. The first episode in the beginning of this one had me a little worried. I was kind of like, is it going to be another American show where everyone's woo religion and I'm going to be watching it like... But no, it actually is handling it very realistically. And there are communities like this one where there are... I mean, to be honest, there are holdouts of religious people, because the majority of people that live on this island are not coming to church. Even on the day when he was like, there's a lot more of you, there was still hardly any people. I know the festival thing had some off-island people as well, but it's realistic. You know, I know when I visited Prague, we did like one of those... Was it Prague or was that Budapest? I went with my history society at uni, so I get them muddled in my brain sometimes. But I know we were doing the... I think it was Prague. We were doing the sightseeing bus, and they talked about how there are churches in the city, but like as a country, Czechia no longer identifies as religious because the number they don't have a highly religious population of any of the religions, because people are just moving on past it. I did think the thing the priest said to Riley about how, oh, but you did used to be religious. You were an altar boy. Yes, a child raised by two religious parents in a religious community, taken to church every Sunday, is most likely going to be religious and do all the religious things. Then when they grow up, they are more like, and they go outside into the real world and they see, if they manage to find other ideas and things, they may well stay religious because that's how they were raised, you know. But yeah, that makes sense. He lived here and his parents were like, probably like, oh, I think you should be an altar boy. And he was like, okay, yes, I'll be an altar boy, mum. I just, that was a really weak argument. Now, the question of guilt and accountability is something else that they're raising in this show, and they are doing a really good job of it. Very sorry, baby, I didn't mean to bump your head. Because it isn't easy, it isn't black and white. what Riley did is unforgivable. He took away a child's life. I mean, I get that she was like 16 to 18 to 20, I don't know, but she was very young. He took away a young girl's life because he was being selfish and reckless and careless. The thing that makes it, as a viewer, more willing to forgive him and more willing to think, no, you can make something of your life, is the fact that he knows that. He thinks that himself. I got a little concerned when he was talking about the way of thinking of like, there's me and then there's my, oh, you can't really see, there's me and then there's my addiction, because I was kind of concerned that like, that's almost absolving yourself. But he also then was like, but we are the same. You know, it's just when he drinks, this rational sense of him would, like, he kind of loses that part of him. And that does make sense. I've never suffered from an addiction. I've only been drunk a few times, I'll be honest. But I can kind of see how you would view that like, even then, his rational day-to-day self would never have done what he did, but once he was drinking, he lost that part of himself. And I think saying things like, God will help you get through this, God will find something good out of it, also takes away a little bit of the agency of healing, because it's all well and good to say, oh no, God doesn't take away the blame, but he's going to make something good out of it. Well, that girl's still dead. Her life is gone, snuffed out, not to exist again. Her family are still left devastated. Their lives have this gaping hole in them. If she was an only child, her parents may not even be with us anymore. You know, there's just so much there. But oh, God's going to make, you know, you're going to help a community here become Alcoholics Anonymous. What would have done a really good job would have been a near-miss accident that woke him up to the truth. Or would have been, I mean, if God works in mysterious ways means that he's cool with letting kids get injured if it teaches other people a lesson, which, let's face it, is what happens, then she could have almost died, and it could have been like, you nearly killed that girl, my goodness, and he could have done a slightly shorter prison sentence and then been in the same spot without that girl being dead. But whereas recovery, what really works, I think, and for someone in Riley's shoes, is pushing through this idea of who you want to be, how accountable you are, and he has to accept that he is accountable. He has to accept that he did this, that he's going to carry that with him for forever. And that if anything, he owes that girl to make something of his life, to be happy because she didn't get the chance to. No one is saying he's not a murderer in the sense that he didn't say, I'm going to go out there and kill somebody, you know. But he did go out there and say, I'm going to drink drive, fuck it, and value that as more important than anything else. I think the way they're showing us Riley is they are showing us somebody that seems like a good guy, someone that you could relate to, but he's done this thing that to us is like, I would never do that. It's unthinkable now. I feel quite safe in saying I would never do that because I don't let myself get out of control with drinking. I don't really drink. And also just, it has been drilled into me so much, do not drink drive. But there are people, you know, I know of people who have said, oh, I was out with my friends and I wasn't very happy because my boyfriend drove home drunk. And I can remember being like, what? You just, bye? You know, like, young people can be dumb and stupid and they think they're invincible. But Riley is not an inherently bad person. And the fact that he is feeling so weighed down by this shows you that. I think the moment when he said to, like, the vision he has of her, how was your day? Was kind of his way of being like, you're never going to have another day. Why the fuck do I deserve a day? You know, he is currently holding himself back. He's keeping himself in a kind of prison at the moment. And he is holding himself accountable, that he is both of those people. And in a weird way, addiction is kind of that other person inside of you. I've never really thought of it that way, of that sense of like, your worst impulses, your darkest impulses, the thing you give into, and there's that rational side of your brain that wakes up and says, I am not touching a drop of alcohol today, I'm not risking it. And then you get tempted, something goes wrong, and it is proven that addiction, there is a gene or something that is in certain people have, and they will get addicted, and I think trauma can obviously bring it on as well, but it's what you do with that information, and I am proud of Riley so far. I think it's the kind of situation where I totally get it if the girl's family would never be able to forgive him because their child is dead, their friend is dead, she's not coming back. But I think in terms of Riley's life going forwards, if he truly means it when he's repentant, if he truly stays away from alcohol and tries to make a difference with his life, then I do believe he is someone that you could forgive. I do understand that that's how his family, his parents, I mean, his mom is kind of just like, oh, my baby boy, you're home, I prayed for you, all's fine. But like that his dad could start to kind of let his son work his way back in. I like that he asked to do the fishing with them. and his dad went to find him the shoes. I thought that was a really good moment. And people like, I'm gonna call her Quinn. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna like look at the cast for like the first episode and see what her name is so that I know for the next one without seeing spoilers of how many episodes people are in or whatever. The fact that she's able to kind of be there for him in the little way she is, because she knows him and she knows that that was just his darkest hour, and everyone makes mistakes. His mistake was huge and unforgivable, but he knows that. He's carrying it. So yeah, I may have missed things to talk about in this show. Oh, the crazy religious lady and her dog murdering. I mean, to begin with, I was like, maybe she did it, maybe she didn't. And then the way she talked to the sheriff, I was like, well, she fucking did it, didn't she? Also, the mayor at the beginning. Does he know more about what's going on with those cats than he's letting on? Does he know more about what's happening? Or is he just the kind of guy that just likes to rationalise things? If anything, it's like, if we just come up with a rational explanation, we can sweep this under the rug and our beautiful peace does not have to be disturbed. But also, why on earth would you ask your Muslim sheriff to attend church? Are you offering that your congregation will pop to the mosque with him on Friday? Because it's perfect, they don't clash, we'll come with you. You know, that's not a thing you do. He doesn't say, people don't go to church. He's not campaigning outside your churches. He's not trying to indoctrinate anybody or force you to join his religion. The only people doing that on this island are the Christians. So yeah, but also that is so true to how people act and how small-minded, religious communities like this do think and act. So this show, in my opinion, is being handled amazingly as always. They're doing such a good job. I loved this episode. Thank you so much, Albert, for sponsoring this show. A reminder that if you're watching on YouTube, you can find the unedited version of this reaction on my Patreon 1 week in advance. And thank you so much for watching. And thank you so much, Albert, again for sponsoring. My head is feeling a lot clearer. I feel like I was able to, I thought things, and my brain only had to work a tiny bit harder than normal to think. So, making progress for this week. Thank you for watching.